again, race fans, and welcome. It's season 15. The sixth race of 12 means we're just getting halfway done here. 95 laps we'll be doing here today around the Auto Club Speedway. 2-mile circuit, 3.21 kilometers for those of you speaking the metric language around the world. Of course, soon the U.S. IndyCar League to change its name to the International IndyCar League. Just a sign of how exciting things are here in the U.S. IndyCar League as we go forward. And I'll tell you what, something else that's exciting. These Dallara IR-18 IndyCars just about to head out onto the track for their qualifying efforts. And let's go ahead and jump on down trackside and see if we can get right to the action here. As we now have Ryan Bowles back out on track, part of the top group that has already won this season here in the league and had to sit out a couple of races and now back in the field. So great to see him back in, and he's putting in those qualifying efforts. Of course, this track big about speed and big about drafting throughout. So we now take a look at Jason Lowe, the current leader in the points. My name is Trevor Greenfield. You're watching VirtualRacing.Network, and we've been with you since Season 10. So any races that you've missed, you can go on back and check it out here on VirtualRacing.Network's YouTube page. Feel free to subscribe at any time by smashing that red subscribe button, and you'll make sure that you get all of our upcoming races. And if you like this video, you'll get more of them in your feed promoted to you over time. So, of course, all that helps us, but what about these drivers out there on the track? Well, Ryan Bowles now completing his second lap. Let's go ahead and take a look and see who is the fastest out there. Is it going to be Bowles with this second lap, 32:15? Last time by 32:23. Mr. Stickwick, Richard Kelbaugh getting in. Great time there, good enough for a third fastest. Now, fastest through Sector 1. With a 32:17 overall, Mauro Ramirez now clocking in second on the track. Jason Lowe finishing his qualifying efforts just a little bit off. Rick Lovison in the field as well this week, putting in a great effort. But I'll tell you what, all eyes are on this man, Graham Bunyan, and honestly his teammate David Strid. Seem to be able to do just about anything that they want to with their race cars, but so far, they're not going to take that extra point for pole position. At least Graham Bunyan will not. Bunyan going to have to settle for fifth fastest so far, and there's still quite a few drivers to go. The legend, Dan Ensch, not yet finished his qualifying effort. In fact, he's just on his first lap as we watch David Strid here on board with Strid as he flies down this facility. And of course, who can forget back, and I believe it was 1998, Gilles de Ferran setting the closed course speed record here at the facility. Legendary stuff, 249 miles per hour. They're not quite that fast here today, but Strid's going plenty fast comparative to his teammates and the rest of the competitors here. Third fastest for Strid thus far, and he's finishing up this second lap, so he could theoretically go faster here. We're watching his Sector 1 time here, and I do not see a faster Sector 1, so I don't think this one's going to be any faster. 32:18 32:18 his absolute fastest thus far. Dan Ensch now clocking in second lap. And will it be fast enough to take him up into the top 5? No, it will not. Seventh fastest is best he'll do. How about Dave in the Cave? Dave Worrell putting in his second lap here. Already qualified 8th. Dips it down onto the apron. Almost lose it. In fact, he does lose it. Fortunately, lots of grass to go spinning around here, and he'll have to settle for 8th. Who else do we have out there? Fahim Rahman back in the field here this week. Great to have him. Kind of a newer looking paint job for Fahim. be a little helpful to differentiate them. And once again, Fahim getting caught out by qualifying, and so not able to get in a result there. And as a result, going to have to start in 13th. Well, let's go ahead and go over your starting lineup for today's race. And of course, as you saw at the top of today's race, this is, of course, the American Cancer Society presented race, and we thank Dominic Hart for bringing that awareness to our attention. Great gentleman who has been racing here in the league for a little while. And it's just great that so many of these drivers have chosen to reach out and do these types of races. So a little bit later on, we'll get a chance to take a look at the American Cancer Society and hear from them and exactly what they do. Of course, you probably know by now, it's kind of in the name. But it's really amazing how much the ACS has done for cancer research, and just in the same way that we talk about every single week, but certainly every season, the Alzheimer's Association and what they do to raise awareness for Alzheimer's and provide so much information for those suffering and those who are suffering with those who are suffering, because of course the family members suffer alongside, and so do the friends. So that of course is our focus today. The American Cancer Society, the presenting sponsor of the Auto Club race, presenting sponsor of the U.S. IndyCar League, as always, is Stickwick, and we'll also get a chance to talk about them. So as the drivers grid up here, we've got a nice full field for you today. Looks like possibly 17 going to be taking the field. So we'll start with Ryan Bowles, who takes the pole position. He knows how to win in the league. You can't count him out anytime. Snatching that pole position right away from Mauro Ramirez. Series steward now officially taking over the responsibilities from Rick Kelbaugh. And speaking of Rick Kelbaugh, he's going to be starting fourth alongside of David Strid. You saw there on your screen in the blue Jimmy Johnson livery. Of course, Richard Kelbaugh proudly representing Team Stickwick, as always. And then on the next row, we do have, sorry, I'm flashing around here a little bit, Jason Lowe. And it looks like Graham Bunyan is possibly disconnected. I do not currently see him on the screen, and so that is unfortunate. And we will get to the points in a little bit, but that will shake things up if he cannot return back. So we continue through, and it will be Dan Ensch. Will today be his day to save fuel and take another victory? That's a good question. Next to David Worrell, as you can see, Joe Brickey and Rick Lovison, Stefan Harding and Danny Alt. A little bit of stickiness here, not able to quite get to the rest of the grid, but you will see it on the start, on the timing tower there on the left-hand side, and either way it's going to change really fast. There's Ryan Bowles, who leads us to the green flag here, and we are underway in Fontana. And there we go. Make sure we get some of the noise of these Indy cars back in there. I don't know why that keeps getting muted, but we always find new ways to screw up broadcasts. Back at it, lap number 1, and his pole position did not last for very long. That was Ryan Bowles slipping back into second, and his teammate David Strid up into first. Mauro Ramirez in third, Jason Lowe in fourth, and Rick Lovison in fifth. So, as I mentioned, we will be having a lot of this, a lot of drafting, a lot of racing. And I do see that Graham Bunyan did leave pit lane and managed to make it onto the track. So he is now kind of closing in on this group, about a half a second back from the last car in line, which would be David Worrell. So we'll keep an eye on that. In fact, why don't we go ahead and put the track map up there. You can keep track with where your favorite driver is at. Ryan Bowles setting the fastest lap of the race on the second lap of the race. And currently it's Strid and Bowles who look to control the front. Side by side here. They're not ready to give it up. Let's jump on board. This is Ryan Bowles out the front of this car. What's he looking at from behind? Well, that's Fahim Rahman. I'm sorry, that's Mauro Ramirez directly behind and David Strid alongside. These drivers now racing for points in this championship. And so that will be a factor here today. But in the meantime, get used to racing 2 wide, 3 wide racing, as these drivers are going to have to deal with this all day long. Speaking of drivers who are making an impact in the league, Stefan Harding just now setting the fastest lap of the race. Once again, we're going to see this all race long. Stefan and Graham Bunyan and David Strid going back a ways as friends, but Stefan just joining us here in Season 15 after a couple of seasons of Graham Bunyan dominance. It's great to have some new faces in the field. So it is tight, it is tight racing out there. Looking on board with Stefan as it is side by side. In the second and third row, looks almost like the start of this race. But it isn't. Stefan now up 7 positions and looking to take a few more. There he is lining up the backside of David Strid as they go side by side for second. Now 3 wide into turn 1. Bowles pretty much just a sitting duck here. Mauro Ramirez around the outside. Stefan tries the high side. Now, this has been one of my favorite tactics here at the Speedway, is to take that high side run like he just got off of Mauro Ramirez. He has to back it off a little bit, but he definitely could have forced the issue if this was the last lap. And speaking of last laps, my goodness, as this continues to get crazy here with Mauro Ramirez still holding tight on the outside. What's going on further back? Well, quite a lot. We've got Will Stearns who's cropped up into this group. There's Jason Lowe. Who's this guy? Danny Alt actually out there on the track and racing. I almost didn't even see him. But Danny's here in the field this week and he is up into the top 5. That is something special for him. Jason Lowe, as I mentioned, in 7th. He's dropped a couple of positions. And Richard Kelbaugh for Team Stickwick, now back into 8th. He's dropped 8 positions. Now again, as we see Joe Bricky and then Dan Ensch now battling it out for 9th. This is, this is a track where you could certainly play the fuel-saving game over another driver who just wants to sit out front. As we now watch Mauro Ramirez and Danny Alt battle it out for 4th place on the track. So we'll have to watch through the field and see if some of those masters in fuel savings like Dan Ensch, and by the way, Graham Bunyan, who is still kind of running around back here by himself, about 5.9 seconds off of Fahim Rahman. And it looks like that gap is starting to grow a little. So Graham is going to have to do some serious work here to get back up there and catch the leaders. He's past David Worrell. I don't even think we can show the blimp that it would show him on the same screen. There you can see a little bit, about a full straightaway's distance, honestly, and maybe then a little bit some. In fact, now growing upwards of about a third of a lap distance between the leaders and Graham Bunyan. That's the work for him to do. And if this stays green the whole time, that's where that fuel savings will really come into effect. And you'll see some drivers that have been sitting back there kind of in the shadow of other cars, saving that fuel, as you can do with the fuel maps here on iRacing. You can change that fuel map from level 1 all the way up to 8. And so, speaking of which, let's go ahead and get into today's race strategy, brought to you by Dan Ensch of Last Lap Motorsports and Alzheimer's Association. So, looking like 26 to 31 laps is about what these drivers can do. So about twice as many laps as we have now. We'll start seeing the green flag stops. But you can't stay with the pack for very long if you're in the most aggressive fuel map strategy. That's what he says. He's expecting some of the leaders to pit around lap 24. And he's probably not expecting too much action in the pits in terms of difficulty. This is one of the easier pit roads to actually get onto. As we now watch the lead of this race, it's still being held by Ryan Bowles and David Strid. But as you can see, Stefan Harding, part of that Strid, Harding, Graham Bunyan friendship clan. Wouldn't quite call them all official teammates, but certainly good friends who have been racing with each other for quite a while. They're starting to emerge at the front, and look who else is here. It's Danny Alt, Will Stearns, and Mauro Ramirez. Danny Alt, most of the races that he shows up at, we don't even get a chance to see him race because he's such a busy guy. He doesn't get a chance to actually stick around and do the races. But here he is, ladies and gentlemen, on the track. Number 15 in your programs, but number 1 in your hearts. So great to see another new face out there on the track and really taking it to these drivers. There's Will Stearns. He does a lot of official racing, leading some points and in some of the official IndyCar racing that's going on. And so as Will continues to fight for 4th and 5th, we watch Danny give it his all and see if he can stay up there in the top 5 today. That would be a phenomenal result for him. But things still sizzling here at the front. I don't think Ryan Bowles, David Strid, and now Will Stearns marching into the 3rd spot. I don't think these drivers are anywhere close to done giving these positions up yet. Who's on board with Will? Get out the right side. You always got to have your head on a pivot, as they say. Looking in your mirrors. As we head now through the corner, over 220 miles per hour. Just how fast are these drivers going, you ask? Well, we've got a handy display for that. We watch as they come out of the corner, down the front straightaway. Will Stearns here riding in 3rd, just behind David Strid and Ryan Bowles. Up to 230 miles per hour. So for those of you who live in Southern California, and the next time you're doing 70 miles an hour down the freeway out there in the Inland Empire, just remember these drivers going 3 times that fast around this track. Pretty amazing stuff here. Well over 3 times as fast, of course. My math was never so great. Maybe that's why I'm in a broadcast booth and not running Amazon. Will Stearns here making a good name for himself by lap 20, up to 3rd place, up from his starting spot in 14th. As I mentioned at the top of this broadcast, yes, you do have to qualify. And while that certainly has shown to be the case in terms of speed for Ryan Bowles and David Strid, Will Stearns definitely showing that it is not about where you qualify, it is about where you finish. So Bowles and Strid still battling it out for that top spot. Perhaps a little bit of ability to keep some of the drivers behind at bay. Perhaps it's more of a effort to wear each other down. I doubt it. But you never know. This is one of those tracks. I was starting to get into some of the strategy that I like to employ here, but as you can see with all these drivers on every other line here, we're too wide into the corner, 3 rows deep, and you can pretty much take that high line. You can take the low line. This is a great track for making adjustments with that wake jacker. Certainly, you'd love to control the front like Ryan Bowles is doing. He's doing a stellar job of that, holding that low line, and these other drivers not really able to get much of a run off. But this is the sort of track where you could do something like that. As we see them continue to go 2 and 3 wide. Stearns and Mauro Ramirez 2 wide there for 3rd place. Now Stearns coming up on the back of David Strid, getting a run here. You see Iñigo Mardones now creeping into this mix here at the front. That's the pink and gray and white car that you saw back there. He's doing quite well in the points. And if we don't get any yellow flags, we're going to have to start breaking into green flag coverage here at some point to get you some of this information. But you'd think like a track like this, there might be a yellow or two. It's just the speeds are so high. And here comes Will Stearns into the pits, as well as David Strid. So your first 2 leaders coming in here. Indeed, as Dan predicted on lap 24, now lap 25 for the leaders. So that is going to give a little bit of space for Bowles, as Strid and Bowles were just a tandem there at the front. But now it looks like Harding is going to give his shot around the outside. And before too long, we're going to see the rest of these guys on pit road. Here we go. This is it. Ryan Bowles, your leader, into the pits. Jason Lowe, Mauro Ramirez, Graham Bunyan. We'll get those pit times up on the bottom. You can tell how your favorite driver is doing here in the pits. Let's get a camera down there into the pits. See some of these pit stops underway. That will leave Stefan Harding and Iñigo Mardones and Mike West as your top 3 out on the track as these leaders make their pits. There's Ryan Bowles in his stop. Mauro Ramirez. Mauro a little slow there, and somebody comes shooting through the pits. I want to say that was Danny. No, that was not Danny Alt. Not at all sure who that was. But we watch Ryan Bowles take back to the track here. So I see that Graham Bunyan entered the pits as well. Now Stefan Harding and the rest make their way into the pits. Iñigo Mardones is still able to get around. So the top 4 that you see on track still are the fuel savers. This group would have saved a little bit of fuel just by running in the pack. Stefan Harding, Richard Kelbaugh, Joe Brickey, Rick Lovison, and Fahim Rahman all into the pits right now. Rahman in. Black Tiger Racing Machine. Gets that car up on jacks and is ready to go. So, unfortunately, you will notice, though, that well, we're going to cover the rest of this action. We'll get back to that note in a minute. This is Dan Ensch and Dominic Hart battling it out for the lead. Neither driver having stopped. And Hart with a different paint job this week. Sure, and I do see the Tag Hour sponsorship on there, so we talked with Dominic. He did want to know what we were referencing as far as last week and saying how much he does comply with the paint scheme policy, and yet, unfortunately, there was one small thing, and that small thing is that technically, according to the iRacing paint policy, and for good reason, you're not allowed to use a different manufacturer than would be on the manufacturer in real life. You're not allowed to use that car manufacturer as an engine sponsor on the car. So it's kind of a gray area. In fact, all this stuff is kind of a gray area, and we just don't want to have our broadcasting rights revoked. It's one of those little decals on a car that I doubt anybody would really care about. But then again, groups like the VW Group and GM all have lots more money than VirtualRacing.Network and many more lawyers. So we let them do the battling. Dan Ensch about to emerge from the pits, but unfortunately the fuel strat of saving fuel is going to put him a long ways back, as it looks like he waited just a little bit too long in terms of lap times. And so that is going to move him well back in the field, back all the way to now 10th, 11th position. Dan is going to have to do some work to get back into this one. But again, it all depends on where the yellows fall. So while that strategy may look to be the disadvantage now, he does have 2 more laps than anyone else. And if you're doing a straight line projection, well, there's only 1 or 2 drivers that are going to make it to the end exactly with 2 stops. And one of those would be Dan Ensch. So if this continues green out here, as we see David Stridd and Ryan Bowles continuing their battling ways at the front, we will definitely see Ensch and possibly Hart up there to make a challenge for that win. We'll keep an eye on that. In the meantime, Mike West, that time getting in the fastest Sector 2 speed, drafting and catching up to these drivers. And so let's take a look at your top 5. It's David Stridd. He and Ryan Bowles have been sharing the lead here. Bowles doing most of the work thus far. We're 34 laps into this one now. Oh, and so close just behind between Will Stearns and Mauro Ramirez. Was just going to mention that Will Stearns climbing 11 positions to find himself now racing in 3rd spot on screen. Mauro Ramirez just behind. He's had a heck of a run today, but shown 1 position back, but still kind of like a crouching black tiger sitting in that catbird seat. If I've got enough, if I've used enough terms there. Mike West in 5th. He's up 11 spots. Now, Mike, of course, no stranger to fuel-saving strategy, no stranger to finding speed in these race cars, and he has been improving so much this season. Definitely someone who can challenge for the win here today. Someone to keep a strong eye on board with Mike. I always mention it, but is the only other driver from the great state of Washington in the field, and that is where VirtualRacing.Network is based out of. So while it is quite uncomfortable for this driver back here, Graham Bunyan and David Stridd, who are racing, and Stefan Harding, who are racing out of Australia, it's very early in the morning on Monday morning there, as we talk about frequently with Graham. But for drivers on the left coast of the United States, it's a 5:30 to, the practice goes up at 6 o'clock in the morning. And I'll tell you what, it's not a lot of stuff that's going to get you out of bed Sunday morning at 5:30 in the morning. But racing cars is one of those things, and certainly takes me back to all of the days when I got up early to go out to the track, and all of us still do get up early to go out to the track and get in a great race day. Of course, IndyCar not out there today, but great race last week, and Formula One out racing today. So we look at this race going on here for 7th and 8th place. This is Stefan Harding and Richard Kelbaugh. And Stefan was up in the mix at the front, now back in mid-pack, right at about 7th position, and about 4 seconds adrift of those leaders. So this has really opened up. This is your lead group who have emerged and separated themselves from the rest of the group. David Strid, Ryan Bowles, Will Stearns, Mauro Ramirez, and Mike West, your top 5. Jason Lowe, also part of this group, sitting at the back right now. And I think if I'm Jason Lowe, and I'm just telling you right now, this is one cagey, wily old vet back here. He's done this a time or two. And if I were Jason Lowe, I would be sitting right at the back of this group and trying to save me as much fuel as I possibly can. Hold on to those tires and don't let that group in front get away. Got to stay in their draft and try and take your foot out as much as you possibly can. Taking your foot out of the throttle, whether you're racing or you're in real life, it is the easiest way to save on fuel. So just remember that the easiest way to save on fuel is to not use the accelerator. Similarly, best way to save on brakes is to not use the brakes. So at a track like this, those brake pads are going to be in excellent condition by the end of this race, assuming that we don't see too many lockups coming down onto pit road. It's David Strid still getting it done out in front here as we are working lap 42. It's a group of 5, actually a group of 6 that have pushed off the front and are now 5 seconds ahead of the group that is just behind, which includes the likes of Stefan Harding, Graham Bunyan, who's now gotten back up into the field after having to start from the pits, or perhaps choosing to start from the pits. He's Graham's just that type of guy that likes that extra thrill, you know? But we've talked about it in the past, and as you see the rest of this group kind of single file here and trying to work out their own fuel strategy. Now Stefan Harding, Graham Bunyan trying to work together a little bit, possibly to slingshot their way back to the front group. But Graham sometimes choosing to start from the back, and that's not a bad strategy for those of you who are into iRacing and into improving your craft. It's a great way to learn how to pass and pass safely, how to work your way through all those accidents that can happen in front of you, and how to avoid a lot of those, dare we use the term, tryhards, who seem to think that, especially on road courses and especially in fixed series, they seem to think lap 1, turn 1 is the only place you can make up positions on the racetrack. And veterans like Graham realize that a track like this, you know, you got 95 laps to play with, and there's not really a rush to get up there into the front. That being said, Graham is also in a fantastic position because at the front of this one, he's got his teammate, David Strid, who's being flanked by his other teammate, Ryan Bowles. So the front has been controlled effectively. And so that gives Graham Bunyan a chance to really work on coming back through this field and trying to get up there into the front. So once again, just to recap, we are now 46 laps through. It's been the Ryan Bowles and David Strid show at the front. But as note, it's Will Stearns who's come up into third, and Stearns having a fantastic run here today. They've already made their first rounds of stops, and we should be seeing drivers coming in here in the next lap or two from this lead group. We expect David Strid, possibly Ryan Bowles, Will Stearns, all in on this lap, so we'll keep an eye on that. On board with Strid, will he come into the pits this lap, or did he save enough to go another lap? I think he did. Everybody choosing to stay out for one more lap here. Now Stearns deciding to take that second position and washing up very high on the exit. So I think this time by it will be Strid as he does signal and pull down low. It's Strid and Stearns who will make their way into the pits. Strid a little bit of tire lockup headed in. And we'll keep the pit lane timer down there at the bottom. You can watch their pit stops unfold and see exactly how fast they make it around. In the meantime, Ryan Bowles continuing here now. Bowles has held that white line down at the bottom and not allowed Mauro Ramirez yet to get up there and lead a lap, take a bonus point. Which, now that we're over halfway, we're going to try to get some of that information up for you on the screen. But Mauro now making his pit stop, while these drivers continuing around here. And so last time by 32:38 for Mike West. And that's actually very good speed. So I'm not really seeing too much time fall off. But then again, it just sort of matters how you get into and out of the pits as well. Graham Bunyan now making his pit stop as well. And looks like Mauro Ramirez, a bit of time in the box there. We'll get some comparison graphics up there for you in a little bit. Gives you a better idea of these drivers and where they're at. And so Ryan Bowles pulls it down onto pit lane. Very efficient slowdown for that commitment cone. And just behind also, here is Stefan Harding and Danny Alt making their way into the pits. So once again, just great to have so many great drivers here in the field. 17 drivers, and you know, this car count keeps growing every single week. So one of the things that we do talk about is this guy right here, Jason Lowe. He's the series administrator. So if as he leads here, and he leads the points and takes a bonus point for leading a lap here at Auto Club Speedway. If you'd like to be out there and racing against these drivers, including Jason Lowe, well, it's not too difficult. In fact, there's no cost to enter. I just want to make sure that you get some quality drivers out there who want to be respectful and kind of take on this gentleman racing moniker, allow everybody to enjoy their Sundays. So if that sounds like you, and you've done a little bit of IndyCar racing on iRacing, just go ahead and click down in the description, send a note over. Actually, that'll take you to the member page, and you can go ahead and apply to be in the league. You'll get a chance to talk with Jason Lowe, and he'll more than likely welcome you out to the Saturday practice session where you get a chance to get a feel for the setup, the track for the week, and they get a chance to get a feel for you. And then just that quickly, you could be out here on Sunday morning, and I could be calling your name, just like Mike West here, who's making his way into the pits from the lead, leaving Dan Ensch out there. And once again, we watch Ensch and Hart. Ensch with now a second over Hart, and that's crucial, possibly for the end of this one. But less than a second is, and now Ensch coming out in the draft of Strid. That's very helpful for him, as he'll be able to keep that speed up and continue to save fuel. But Hart will be able to draft up. There you can see him. He's a second back in that red, white, and black livery. So once again, just to say it, I don't think it means you can't have Porsche as a sponsor, because once again, they do sponsor iRacing, and they are available as a sponsor. We just can't technically put them as the engine sponsor, just for anybody who wants to do that themselves. Here's Fahim Rahman coming in from third. Having a great run today. And I suppose any day for Fahim where he doesn't have a technical issue that costs him from being in the race is probably a good day. The poor guy suffering so much from these technical issues that have kept him out of some of these races. But here we go. Wow, that was close a moment ago. There's Will Stearns and Ryan Bowles battling it out as Dan Ensch now pits from the lead, and that will leave Dominic Hart, who you see there just behind, is actually still in the lead with the rest of these drivers that are shown just in front. If I can get to Hart's point of view here, he may be coming into the pits this lap. And so you see all of these drivers that are in front of him are actually on the lead lap, but he is just at the tail end of the lead lap right now, or excuse me, they're just at the tail end of the lead lap. So now they will circle around and he begins his pit stop. So we'll see where this will put Dan Ensch and Dominic Hart relative to David Strid once he can make his way around. So this is your front group racing for position here. Strid and Will Stearns, Ryan Bowles, Jason Lowe, and Graham Bunyan. Your top five as soon as they can get around Dominic Hart, who still sits in the pits and now has emerged. He is starting to make his way around. There you can see he has emerged, but unfortunately for him, he is sliding back through the field now in 14th position. This is Hart now emerging from the pits, but as mentioned, lap 48, Strid and Stearns are going to have to start fuel saving. They came in on lap 48. So another 24 from 48. I'm not great at math, but I don't think they're going to be able to do it. So we'll wait and find out if they... This is what I'm saying. If they stay out there in the lead, I don't know if they have enough fuel to make it to the end if we stay green. So they're going to be hoping for some cautions. And as this one gets closer to the end, we'll be able to give you an even better heads-up number. But we may see some of these drivers deciding to immediately fuel save. Here's somebody... I know we haven't been talking about him too much because he decided to start from the pits, that sly old devil. But Graham Bunyan has made it to the front group. And not only has he made it to the front group, but he's actually passed two cars from where he started, or where he qualified, now putting him up into fourth place. So up in front, however, he could care less about Graham Bunyan and his starting strategy. This guy's having the run of his life. Will Stearns up into second. Graham Bunyan now around the outside of Ryan Bowles, his teammate, behind. But we stay side by side here between these two at the front. So that is a bit of what it is like to ride around this track with Ryan Bowles. on board. And there it looks like he kind of washed out a bit. He got up close and then kind of got pinned in by that Will Stearns car. And that started the aero push and starting him sliding up the track. Ryan thought better of it and pulled the ripcord. And so as a result, he lives to fight another day. Graham Bunyan now in third and tries Will Stearns on the outside. This is a dangerous proposition. Will does not like to give up these places very easily, and he will fight you tooth and nail. So we'll find out whether Bunyan can find a way safely past the number 306 car. I guess I never really looked at Will's exact number. 306 to 101, and the 101 gets by. So 101 in second place now, Graham Bunyan. It's kind of back to the way that we are used to calling him. David straight out in front, Graham Bunyan in second. I was getting real excited because we were calling names we haven't been calling before, but now we're back to some familiarity. But Will Stearns now boxed in here in third, and that is like putting a tiger in a cage. I don't think he will hold in there for very long before he decides to do something about it, but he's going to race side by side with Ryan Bulls here on the backstretch. And there's Jason Lowe, series administrator and points leader, coming into this race. Now that we are well over halfway, we do apologize, but we're going to have to get some information up there for you so that we can all pay some lovely bills, which makes all of us very happy and keeps this thing running here that we do. So just to bring you up to date here as we can get this info sliding across there. Okay, so this is where we stand in the points, because it does matter at this point. It won't matter as much at the end of this race. Jason Lowe leads it, 194 points, just 14 points over the top of Graham Bunyan. Graham's been coming up in the points since having 4 races that really didn't work out great for him, or actually 3 races that didn't work out great for him to start the season. But you notice those bonus points there. Graham Bunyan, 15 bonus points, and that is double how much Jason Lowe has. So, you know, if you just add 7 points, you know, to, if you just work that 7 points in there, you see how crucial it is. And then third place Dan Ensch sliding down from last week. He was up in the front after that great win a couple of weeks ago. Iñigo Mardones, David Strid, and Dominic Hart. Shoot, why not throw Rick Kelbaugh in there for a great battle that's happening there in the points in the mid-pack. It's like 4 points separating 4 drivers. So a lot of great racing to be done here. And of course, this race counts. The drivers do have one throwaway race that they can utilize, and so the best way to utilize that for these drivers is, of course, to race every race and then just let your worst race fall off. But some of these drivers taking vacations, etc. Here comes David Strid for that final pit stop with just 24 laps remaining, and this should actually allow him, after all, to make it on fuel. So I wasn't sure if he was going to make it to this window, but he did, as well as Will Stearns, Danny Alt, and Richard Kelbaugh. Now, one advantage that these other drivers will have is the longer that they can stay out, as we now see a familiar face taking over the lead. Graham Bunyan of Australia now back in the lead of a U.S. IndyCar League race. But now seeing Jason Lowe also making his way into the pits. Will Stearns still working to get his pit stop done. Remember, these drivers still continuing to circulate. So we've got Graham Bunyan, Bowles, West, Harding, Lovison, Bricky, Ensch, Hart, Ramirez, and Martinez, your top 10 who still have not pitted. So while pit stops are going on here, go ahead and take care of this and go side by side here. You won't miss anything, and we'll be back for more green flag coverage here in a minute. Let's go ahead and find out about today's race presenting sponsor, thanks to Dominic Hart, the American Cancer Society. Have a listen and follow along and hear what they do for all those who do suffer with cancer.
No one has to walk their cancer journey alone, because the American Cancer Society is there at every step. Margaret knows it's time for a mammogram thanks to screening guidelines we develop. That means doctors find her breast cancer sooner. She has a million questions. Her doctor directs her to cancer.org, the most trusted source of cancer information, and tells her about our free 24/7 helpline. She starts personalized treatment made possible by decades of cancer research, including more than $3.1 billion invested by the American Cancer Society since 1991. And her caregiver can't always provide a ride to chemo, so our transportation programs are there for her. When she's struggling, it means the world to connect with a breast cancer survivor through our Reach to Recovery support program. Margaret and her caregiver have to travel far from home for more treatment, not knowing how to pay for lodging. She turns to the American Cancer Society again. After treatment, she spends more time with family and begins her recommended follow-up care thanks to the American Cancer Society Cancer Action Network, who advocated for legislation to protect those with pre-existing conditions. She has access to affordable health coverage. Fast forward 5 years and countless visits to our online Cancer Survivors Network community, and Margaret is cancer-free. The cancer journey is different for everyone, and the American Cancer Society will be there for all people facing cancer and their families, every step of the way.
And once again, we greatly thank Dominic Hart for bringing that to our attention. Thank you so much. And those of you who would like to find out more information, please head over to cancer.org for more information about the American Cancer Society and what they can do for you. I was just reading over there a little bit earlier, and they've got information about risk and prevention, screening, things like that, to make sure that you're looking after yourself and your loved ones, as we watch Dan Ensch here, who continues in the lead of this race. But yes, cancer.org is the website. So you can find out about preventative measures that you can do, treatment, and obviously in the worst case scenarios, survivorship, and then different programs, services, the great amount of research that they do, and so many ways that they're involved and raise awareness, etc. And that's just what it's all about, is getting the awareness out, learning that it's something that you can deal with, you can live with, you can treat, etc., and find ways to hopefully be able to recover from it. So please head over to cancer.org and get more information for yourself and your loved ones. And so we continue here in Auto Club Speedway, Fontana, California. Just 14 laps remaining. Dan Ensch has not yet pitted. He's staying out there hoping for that yellow flag. But it's going to be a little too late, unfortunately, for Dan and the Last Lap Motorsports ALZ machine, as he currently is on track, but by the time he makes his pit stops, he will, if it stays green, he will be 10 seconds behind this group. So who is this group that's out in front? Well, it's David Strid, Now, that's not a surprise. He's been there all race long up at the front of this one, and boy, does he want to control the front of it as we watch him slice down to the bottom. I'm just going to remind you also here that Graham Bunyan has come from the pits up into second place, virtually on the track by the time that Dan makes his pit stop, as he does right now. So Ensch into the pits. And we will get the track map back over there so you can see where he emerges when he comes back out. But Bunyan now taking over the lead, just missing that a moment ago, and now Strid looks to go low. So I think what we might be seeing is some driver swapping positions and trying to create just a little bit of distance between themselves and Jason Lowe. These are some old veterans that have played this game with each other a few times. Jason Lowe here with the Chrome Machine, the 004, riding the high side, trying to stay in that draft of David Strid and Graham Bunyan up in front. Now, if you want to see one of the best finishes we've ever had here on VirtualRacing.Network, go back and watch the Auto Club race from the PGRL. I'm sorry, not the PGRL, PMRL. PGRL is somebody I'm doing a broadcast for now. PMRL, the Prime Meridian Racing League, from a couple of seasons ago. And you will see a driver by the name of Thomas Christensen coming from, I believe, 6th on the backstretch and being able to make a pass in that monster draft from about right here where we're watching Jason Lowe pass all the drivers headed into turn 1 and pull off that race victory like a boss. So it is possible here. It just depends on who can size up that race win and be able to draft and put their foot to the floor and see how many cars you can overtake in one straightaway. But as we hit 10 laps to go here, we do have just one more. Actually, you know what? We'll leave that up there. We'll do our final commercial break just before we go to live interviews. We'll let those drivers get into the booth and get settled for that after the race here. We'll stay live uninterrupted till the checkered flag, and you won't miss a thing. It's Graham Bunyan, David Strid, Jason Lowe, and Ryan Bowles, and Will Stearns now your top 5, who will be trying to battle it out for the end of this one. Dan Ensch did emerge in 6th. He is about 7.2 seconds adrift of Stearns, but given it a good run there, and once again, taking advantage of that fuel-saving technique that he has become just an absolute master of. So, Bunyan and Strid at the front, owning this one here today. Get a sense of some of the speed of these cars as they go around. That light blue car of Strid now marching up in front of the black and dark blue paint job of Graham Bunyan. And you've got that red and black paint scheme of Ryan Bowles, kind of reminiscent of the scheme that Robbie Wickens was running a couple of seasons ago. And Will Stearns there in the back, just trying to get this one in the bag here and take 5th, but as quick as I say that, there goes Stearns almost down onto the apron to try to get by Ryan Bowles and possibly cooking that right front a little bit at the same time. You got to really watch how aggressive you get. So at a track like this, if you're Graham Bunyan, if you're David Strid, the goal here would be to own the front of this field. And you want to get a little bit of separation, especially coming out of turn 4 on the last lap. You would love to have this much separation if you were Graham Bunyan, but for these other drivers, it's all about waiting until that last 2 laps to get yourself into position to make that drafting pass on the final lap. So we will watch as these drivers, now they're trying to work around Dave Worrell. Dave in the cave stays high. The leaders just 5 laps remaining. Get the high five last time by. This time just 4 clicks around this huge facility here in the Auto Club Speedway in Fontana, California. Personally, have been here to this track numerous times. And, and there's almost contact between Lowe as he starts to push up and Dave Worrell. That's hopefully not going to damage his car. Lowe, somebody I thought might have something for the end of this race, but he makes momentary contact there with Dave Worrell on the outside. Looks like he's still got the speed in the car. You never know. Just 3 remaining here. Who will it be? Stand by. We've got some action yet to come as Graham Bunyan has his mirror filled with a number 48 light blue car of David Strid, who wouldn't mind taking a win here. Graham Bunyan would love to take another win and possibly take the points lead coming out of this race. Certainly, David Strid would love that win. How about Ryan Bowles? He could retake possibly second, maybe even first in the points with a solid win here today. And, of course, then there's Jason Lowe, 4th in line right now. He has everything to think about for this championship. He still leads the championship, and he doesn't want to see any one of these 3 in front get a race win or get points up on him. How about Will Stearns? Stearns hasn't had this good of a racing chance at a top 3 or even a potential win in all the time that we've been covering races here on VirtualRacing.Network. 1 lap remains. Just 1 lap to go here for this Auto Club Speedway race number 6 of the U.S. IndyCar League. Who has the speed on the backstretch? It's Strid who makes his move down to the low side. Strid moves up into the front. Could he take the win? We'll stay in the wider picture. Here comes Jason Lowe into the picture. He's 3rd. Lowe will stay 3rd across the line. And Graham Bunyan 2nd. David Strid takes victory here on the last lap. And after leading many of the laps and then battling with his teammate Graham Bunyan for position at the end, it is in fact Strid who takes victory for race number 6. So some thoroughly exciting stuff here on the last laps as we saw Jason Lowe be able to get by Ryan Bowles and take 3rd spot. That will be crucial for the points. Will Stearns does finish in 5th, and Dan Ensch brings it home in 6th. But your winner here, David Strid. And so we'll be getting to interviews in just a moment. We're going to let these drivers go ahead and celebrate. And in the meantime, we're going to pay our final bills of the day by getting to talk about this amazing device, which you may or may not be familiar with. Yes, this is the namesake of the presenting sponsor of the U.S. IndyCar League, and it's the coolest thing since sliced bread. You can quote me on that one. Trevor Greenfield, VirtualRacing.Network 2022. Stickwick is one of those devices that you didn't know that you needed in your world, but now you do. Do you see what it is doing there in that medicine cabinet? You see what it does there on the side of this commercial oven? It could be doing that for you too. It's magically, auto-magically helping you to organize your whole life. All your gardening tools on the side of the shed. In your medicine cabinet, get all of those things up. Why use the shelves? I mean, it's made of metal. Use it. Stick stuff to it. In this case, you got the Stickwick. Now Stickwick is a ultra heavy duty, chemical resistant, UV resistant, made of silicone device, and it is magnetic. And that's the key right here, is you can stick it to anything that is steel or metal and will receive a magnetic connection. And that means you can keep everything that you have handy. Your vape accessories, your tools in your toolbox, literally anything you can think of that you can put one of these around. And of course they're stretchy. You get 3 different sizes in a package. and they come in 6 different colors. What more could you want? Well, I tell you what, even for places that aren't made of metal, like this shower, you could stick that little sticky pad right on there, and it will make it into a magnetic connection. You just slap your razor right on there. You'll never be looking for that razor again, and it'll never be down in that sink drain collecting all that dirty old hair that you should have cleaned out last week. Sorry, girlfriend. Anyway, 6 to a package. Head over to stickwick.com. Get yours today. Comes in 6 different colors, and let them know that the U.S. IndyCar League sent you. You saw them over here on broadcast, and they will be very glad to know that their sponsorship is working out. So I've got one. Do you have yours? That is the question as we come back to the live feed here, and we'll get a chance to talk with some of our drivers who are going to be waiting here for their interview. Let's go ahead and first chat with Dominic Hart, who joins us over here in our Victory Circle discussion corral. How are you doing over there, Dominic? And unfortunately, it looked like we do, of course, appreciate you bringing all of the awareness of the American Cancer Society for us here today in this race. But it looked like you had a technical issue there during the race. Is everything okay? And how was your race? Hello, Dominic. So we got Dominic. Dominic, it says your mic is muted. I don't know if you're trying to talk, but it says you're muted. So we'll let... Oh, there.
Yeah, hi, Joe. Sorry about that. Yeah, it's been one of those days for technical faults. Yeah, my iRacing froze up, unfortunately, just before the last pit stop.
Oh, that is a shame. And in fact, we were literally talking about you and bringing the awareness for the American Cancer Society when I saw you drop off the screen. That is too bad. Just one of those iRacing things, I guess. But nevertheless, how was your race today? You were racing up there in the front at a time when you were saving fuel with Dan Ensch. How was that looking for you? And obviously, the fuel strat didn't pay out overall, but Dan ended up 6th. What was your decision to go with the fuel save strat, and how did you feel it worked out?
Yeah, I mean, I was always going to be starting at the back because I got an end of line from last week's incident. So I just thought I'd just sit at the back and just run lean all the way through until the last stint. Seemed to be doing all right. Graham had a great race, and obviously congrats to the podium for David, Graham, and Jason. Graham obviously proved that otherwise because he managed to get all the way up there and he started in the pits. But yeah, I mean, I'm not quick enough on the pit stops on this track, so I knew I just had to sit back and just run a fuel race, unfortunately.
Well, that certainly was unfortunate, but, you know, it just tells what your competitive nature is. You knew immediately when things weren't quite going one direction, you shift and you go the other direction and try and get the most amount of points for today. Unfortunately, obviously, it ending up with a technical glitch to take you out. Otherwise, we might have ended up with you up there in the top 5, right next to where Dan Ensch was, since you were running with him. But talk a little bit about American Cancer Society, what drew you to want to raise awareness for them, and any other thoughts that you might have on the group and what people can do to get over and find out more.
Yeah, it's a personal thing because my mum's survived it, fortunately, going back about over 20 years ago now, but unfortunately my dad passed away in 2018 from stage 4 lung cancer. My mum was in the UK, my dad's in Australia, so trying to pick obviously a sponsor that's local to either one. I just thought with this being the US IndyCar League, it seemed appropriate to choose the American Cancer Society, and yeah, just trying to bring awareness.
Well, we certainly greatly appreciate that, and certainly it's probably one of the biggest charities here in the United States, and they've been around for quite a while. That logo, so familiar now to those of us in the United States, as they do make that impact that we talk about them being able to get the word out about early screenings, and certainly for those that are suffering and their families are suffering, how to deal with that, how to cope with that, and how to move through that process. And so it's just great that you bring that to everybody's awareness, because it's a fantastic resource. My own mother battling with cancer, unfortunately losing her life due to some complications with post-op surgery. But it's just something that the whole family does go through together. And certainly for you, Dominic, sorry for your loss, but thank you so much for bringing awareness and help to others. And hopefully they can get some of the help that they need in their lives. Because, I mean, we'd all love to see cancer go away, and hopefully it does one day. But in the meantime, we do need to know how to live with it. So thank you, Dominic. And, of course, good luck with the rest of your season as well. And we look forward to seeing you back up here in the podium and possibly in the victory circle again.
Yep, thanks a lot. Thanks obviously to yourself for the broadcast, and obviously Stickwick as the main sponsor. But yeah, hopefully it goes better in the next one. And yeah, have a good one.
So there you go, Dominic Hart joining us. A little bit of a frustrating race, but the main thing was we got a chance to get the info out about today's race sponsor, American Cancer Society. And of course, we do encourage everybody to head over to cancer.org and get all that remaining information as well. Okay, so we have a chance to talk with, let's see, who else do we have here? We've got a chance to talk with Jason Lowe. There he is, series administrator and current points leader. I think he'll hold on to the points. It's pretty close, Jason, but getting that last position there on that last lap may have kept you in the lead. Congratulations on another podium position, and keep fighting for that championship.
Yeah, 6 races, 6 top 5s. I'm not going to complain about that. Congratulations to David Strid. Congratulations to Graham on his second after starting from the pits. That's pretty amazing. Especially, I don't believe, he didn't have any caution flags to help him catch back up. He just did it on his own, so good on him. Yeah, he has closed within 9 points of me now, so he's right there at my heels. Him not winning today and me getting by Ryan right there at the end was certainly beneficial to me. I would have liked to have won the race. Just didn't have the out front speed that I needed today. I didn't get my head wrapped around the in-car adjustments. There was obviously there was something I wasn't getting. And Graham and David are both really good at this track. With the low temperatures, it was really kind of a nice Sunday drive. It wasn't very stressful. You didn't really have that bad push off of turn 4 this place is known for. And just tried to keep my nose clean. Certainly appreciative of Dominic bringing the American Cancer Society to the forefront today. It was very nice of him to do. And again, congratulations to both David and Graham on a great race.
Absolutely, a great race. So talk us through those adjustments, if you can, and then what did you have to do to try to get yourself in position there at the very end? And you were really close. If I'm going to try to bring up here that final finish, but did you think you maybe could slingshot them for the win there at the end?
I didn't get enough of a run. I didn't drop back enough to get the run that I needed, and I didn't have a good feel for the car off of turn 4 where I felt like I was going to get that run anyway. I don't know. It's just like I said, there's some tricks and some tips that I'm getting my head wrapped around, but maybe I need to wrap it a little bit further because I'm happy with a 3rd place today. I would have liked to have done better, but it is what it is. And again, I've got six top 5s in the first 6 races, and I'm happy about that. I'm happy that I haven't done anything stupid this year. The main thing today was getting your pits in and out, because that's where you were going to make some separation, counting how many laps you could go, how many stops you were going to have. I know Dan was itching for a caution there at the end because he was on a lap by himself for a while, but everybody kept it clean and didn't give him that opportunity. So, again, just had a good time today, and on next week.
Well, there you go. Great time. And, of course, looking forward to next week. Why don't we go ahead and, while we have you here, we can bring up next week and talk us through. So we've got Texas Speedway coming up. That's a classic D-shaper. Then we go to Watkins Glen Road Course. New Hampshire, I thought we were going to try it like a couple seasons ago, but it's on the schedule this season. Phoenix, Michigan, Indy. Circle two of those races that sound like your kind of races.
Well, the Texas is the Legacy Classic Texas, which I very much prefer to the new Texas.
I think most people do.
Yeah, I don't feel bad about Texas. I actually feel okay about Watkins Glen. I don't know. We got a couple guys, if they show up, are gonna be super tough there. But I mean, New Hampshire is an odd place. It's flat and it's a big paperclip, so you can get somebody who really find something there, even with a fixed setup, and they can just drive off. So who knows? Again, Phoenix is going to be new Phoenix, it looks like, and then Old Michigan, and finishing off like we always do at Indianapolis with a half-distance race. If I was going to circle two of them, I will take Texas and Indy.
Mm-hmm. Who doesn't want Indy there at the end of the season? Maybe it'll be to decide the championship. We could always hope here on VirtualRacing.Network for the fans' sake. But either way, for you, good luck with the rest of the season, Jason, and you're definitely fighting an uphill battle against Graham Bunyan and David Strid, so good luck there.
Well, you got to have a target to aim at, and I've got a couple of the best to put in my sights, so I'm happy for that, and I enjoy racing with those guys every week. Once again, David Strid brought us an excellent setup, and have a good time with these guys. Thanks, Stickwick.
Absolutely. So that's Jason Lowe joining us there from third, last spot on the podium, but able to probably stay in the points lead heading into next week. And it's getting interesting. Jason Lowe, 3-time consecutive champion, and then taken over this league was by Graham Bunyan, 4 times in a row champion, defending champion. And well, he didn't win this race, but he did something pretty amazing. He came all the way from the pits in a green flag, no yellows race to be able to come in second place, and at one point he was leading laps. Of course, I'm talking about Graham Bunyan, who came in second today. And hey, Graham, congratulations. What a heck of a run. First of all, decision to start from the pits. What was that decision all about? And congratulations.
Thanks. And that wasn't a decision. It was a forced decision. I wasn't getting full acceleration under qualifying, so I went off to reset everything and come back and still wasn't getting it. So I thought, instead of impeding anybody's race, I'll just start from the pit. But about, I don't know, probably about 10 laps in, I kicked the crap out of the pedals a couple of times, and I ended up getting the little extra green bar that I needed to get and started cranking out some time.
So, that's not, so you pulled a Fonzie. You pulled the Fonz. You just kicked the jukebox.
Yeah, but I wasn't going. Hey! I was a few terrible words.
Well, it's early in the morning on Monday over there, and I can only imagine how it feels to do 95 laps around here and kind of waiting for that last lap. But it kept you entertained all the way through. You got to make lots of passes. Was there a point? I mean, this went green the whole way, which kind of is a great thing for all of us to watch and great thing for strategy. But for you starting from the pits, that's quite a thing you have to dread because you got to catch up a lot. Was there a time where you were like, I don't know if I'm going to make it to the front?
No, because I was quite surprised when I did my first pit stop that I think I passed about 5 people, and I was like nearly 6 seconds still behind when I pitted. So I have no idea what happened to those guys that were pitting in front of me. But once I ended up getting those guys and getting draft, I knew I was going to start making up time. And had a quiet little word a couple of pit stops later. Had a quiet little word with a teammate, Denny, and got him to drop back a little bit so I could get some draft just to get me up there.
Well, it was exciting to watch you work your way through the field again, as it always is, and hearing Jason Lowe talk about David and Ryan, of course, making those adjustments in car and being able to control the front of this one. I'm sure it would have been nice to run at the front all race long, but great to get back up there and be at the front at the end. Now, talk us through that last lap as we're watching on board now, as David Stritt did manage to get you there in the final corner. Looked like you stayed up high. Now, tell us the truth. Did you give David that one, or did he just manage to get by you?
No, we were just doing our thing. We just wanted to try and keep Jason at bay behind and try and make more points if we could. Hopefully try and get Ryan through there, but it didn't work, so it's, it is what it is. However it finishes, it finishes. But yeah, no, we still race. It just we get a bit mixed up with laps sometimes, and we don't know where we are.
Well, and in the end, I know you and David supporting each other, and obviously Ryan Bold being part of that group, and anything you can do to help out a teammate helps you as well. And it's great to see the camaraderie, not just between teammates, but I know you enjoy your healthy rivalry that you've had there with Jason Lowe so many seasons. This is probably the most intense season thus yet. You two are fighting it out for this championship. What do you think about the rest of this season?
Yeah, look, there's some good tracks coming up, so I'm looking forward to a few of those. So
ready for a road course? We're gonna get one here
after
Texas.
Yeah. Wow, where's that?
Watkins Glen, the classic.
Nah. I'll crash. It'll be all good.
Well, a nice healthy mix, and of course we always end up at Indy for that special race at the end. In the meantime, American Cancer Society proudly sponsoring this one, as well as Stickwick, two of your favorite groups and sponsors, of course. Anybody you want to give a final shout out to before we close this one out today?
Look, everybody. David Stritt again for working hard on the setup, and everybody else that puts a bit of input into it. I think this one was pretty well much a done deal. When we hit the track, it was pretty spot on, so it was really good. But Stickwick, American Cancer Society, you up there in the booth, without you up there, we wouldn't be seen, and we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. But no, look, congrats to everybody. Well done. And well done to David and Jason, Ryan and Will, I think it was.
Absolutely. So there it is. Graham Bunyan stopping in his last stop of the night before he sends himself off for some sleep and has to get up early and go off and help people in the healthcare industry. Thank you for joining us, Graham, and always giving a healthy competition to everybody. That was second place Graham Bunyan, but he's running for first in the championship. You'll want to be here next week, same time, 10 o'clock Eastern time, wherever that is in your world. Just check online on our YouTube channel. If you subscribe, it'll automatically put it in your feed and notify you that the next race is coming up. So as mentioned, we'll be at the Old Texas next week. That should be exciting. In the meantime, thank you once again to Dominic Hart and to the American Cancer Society for sponsoring today's race. And congratulations to race winner David Stritt, second Graham Bunyan, and third Jason Lowe. That's all for today. We'll see you next week. On behalf of everybody here in the U.S. IndyCar League, I'm Trevor Greenfield, and you've been watching VirtualRacing.Network. Bye-bye, everybody.